Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today we're going back to the Rifts Explorer's Guide series, and we're going to be focusing on Chi-Town itself today, as promised in the last video where we talked about the ruins of old Chicago. Today we're going to focus on the coalition sort of seat of power, Chi-Town itself. Now this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer video, maybe not. Because I think I maybe want to break this up into a two-part video at some point. There's a lot more. I'm going to be drawing just from the core book today, the Rifts Ultimate Edition, because there's lots of information about Chi-Town in this one, in the first core book. But I think that I might want to do another video sort of talking about a Chi-Town in a much larger view and maybe going into more depth as to sort of the layers of society within Chi-Town itself. But today I want to talk about just a brief overview, sort of a bird's eye view of what Chi-Town is. Now, Chi-Town, according to the book, is the most advanced, it is the biggest and most powerful member of the coalition states. That's as of 109 PA, the sort of current day setting of Rifts. Now, if any of you have played before, if you've been taking part in any sort of long-term Rifts sort of campaign, you know that the timeline has now advanced, and we're we're way ahead of the beginning date of 109 PA as it is in the book itself. But I'm going to focus on what Chi-Town is sort of at the height of its power right now at the beginning of the Rifts Ultimate Edition. It is the home of Emperor Karl Prozik, and it is the sort of seat of power, as it were, for the coalition itself. It's sort of the home base where all sort of like laws and edicts and everything sort of trickle down from here. It's a little hard to explain. We have to kind of think about Chi-Town as being sort of the capital, larger than just the capital city, but sort of like, if you think about the sort of the central seat of power of the coalition empire, we're looking at the northern part of Illinois, as well as the entire, what was the state of Iowa, okay? Broken down into small towns, into villages and cities scattered throughout this area. Now, most of Iowa, or what was Iowa, is farmland and livestock. It's sort of the agricultural center of Chi-Town, as it were. About 70% of that is farmland, and about 30% of that is livestock. It feeds the population of Chi-Town and provides all manner of things from cloth and all sorts of textiles and such for Chi-Town and the coalition as a whole in this region of the world. The Illinois sector is broken up into mostly towns and cities, and of course Chi-Town proper is broken down into the fortress of Chi-Town, the coalition fortress headquarters, and then the surrounding city. Now, this is a sort of, you have to imagine, after 80% of the world's population perished during the dark ages of Rifts, right? From the time of Chaos Earth, the beginning of the apocalypse, all the way through the couple hundred years dark ages, up into the current state of the beginning of the Rifts Ultimate Edition, 80% of the world's population died, and slowly began to struggle to fight its way back to what it was. So when you listen to these numbers that I'm going to give you right now, you realize that the masses of the people that live here, while small in comparison to today's standards, thinking of the fact that 80% of what we had known of population had died, these numbers are very impressive. So you realize that this is a very this is a very like sort of the heart of where humanity is at this point in the current Rifts universe. So in the Iowa sector alone, there are 1.3 million people. In the Illinois sector, there's up to, in any of the number of the towns that are around, up to 10,000 people per town. And to cities, about 240,000 people per city. But within the population of just the Chi-town proper, and within the city that surrounds the fortress itself, are 2.2 million people, all humans. So what we have is this fortress surrounded by miles of city, right? And we're talking about all levels of sort of financial financial levels, right? So we're talking about there are parts of the city that are very well maintained, and there are skyscrapers, we're talking 15, 30-story buildings, and then we have other parts of the city that are just like tar paper shacks and tents and lean-tos and old hobbled ruins. And so there's a massive variety within the city that surrounds the actual coalition fortress, which could make some very, very interesting role-playing opportunities, right? If you wanted to do more of an urban sort of adventure or campaign, here's the place to do it, because there's a huge variety of peoples and play styles and intrigue and all sorts of stuff going on there. When I say levels of intrigue and adventure, what I mean is that while the population is all human, and because the coalition itself is sort of this dictator type oppressive government, and I'll go into this. I talked about this in one of the previous videos as well too, but I'll talk about this in some of the others as well too. The great thing about the coalition and about the emperor himself is that he has a motivation. He has this. He believes that what he's doing is good and right, and as well, right? He's protecting humanity. Earth was humanity's home, and after the coming of the Rifts and the interjection of DBs and the rebirth of magic and ley lines, what the Emperor is trying to do is sort of bring back a sense of normalcy and bring back Earth to being its rightful sort of humans being the rulers of the Earth. And so he's very violent and very narrow-minded when it comes to this DBs, dimensional beings within the planet, within the coalition territories, any magic users stuff. He sees these all as abominations, and they all need to be dealt with and sent away or destroyed. So while the population of Chi-town and the burbs, as it's called, the city surrounding the fortress, is all human, or I would say at least 99% human, there's going to be some dissension in those ranks as well too. Some people are going to view the coalition as their saviors. Some people are going to view the coalition as the enemy. Some of them are going to have just completely neutral views. You think about America today, right? There's varying views of politics of the time, and you're going to see that in the Chi-town burbs as well too. So you can get some great. You can play characters that are friendly to the coalition. You could even play coalition soldiers, but you could also play characters that are dissenters, that hate the coalition, but while living in the burbs, trying to sabotage the coalition and in all its forces and all its makeup and everything to try to bring it down. So there's some adventure possibilities there as well too. There's even sort of if you want to play a magic user who's living secretly amongst the burbs itself, there's lots and lots of opportunities to play within Chi-town itself and the burbs and stuff too. So what are we going to find when you go to Chi-town? What are going to be some of the major things that you're going to see while you're there? Well, you're going to see a coalition presence, right? The military acts as a police force. It's a very military type state the coalition soldiers and their affiliates are everywhere. That includes spies. That includes, psi stalkers and their psi hounds, and all manner of, coalition juicers, cyborgs. Coalition forces themselves are what are going to be first and most notable, especially around the area of the fortress, which is the seat of power and the home of the Emperor, Emperor Prozek. There's also the fabled Chi-Town Library. That's the only place known to harbor pre-Rifts artifacts, including books about the world prior to the coming of the Rifts, which again is a whole nother video on adventure and campaign since there. As a bookseller and kind of a book nerd, I find that fascinating. I think it would be really, really cool to do some sort of campaign focused on infiltrating the fabled library and trying to discover the secrets that are in it. Sort of like the Library of Alexandria, had anything survived from that sort of destruction, and what kind of secrets those books held. You're also going to find a black market. There's going to be a huge sort of black market reigning throughout the city. Goods and services being sold underneath the nose of the coalition. It would be an interesting sort of adventure set as well too, and anything that you can probably possibly need as an adventurer, you're going to be able to find on the black market in Chi-Town Burbs. And again, we're 99% human population, and you're going to find that weird, not weird, it's pretty common, but you'll find that sort of different levels of hatred or love for the coalition going on in these areas as well too. So this is just a brief view of Chi-Town itself. The next video, I think I want to make this two-part video, in which the next time we're going to talk about sort of like the deeper levels of Chi-Town, and maybe go into more about the Chi-Town fortress and some of the Chi-Town or some of the coalition forces as they are, and what you can expect to either play as coalition forces or what you can expect to find as opposing forces in the coalition. We're talking about Dead Boys. We're going to be talking about all Samus pilots, all sorts of great stuff. So until next time, I'm Questwise, and we are out.